I hope you're not touching those. They're still setting, you know, and they're sticky. Shit. Episode 3, guys. Resin.
Ah! Oh, that was delayed.
That was delayed. Alright, we're back with another episode. We're doing resin today. I'm just going to show you here what we need for today's little project. That's just another brand of resin. You don't have to... Doesn't really matter, they're all pretty good, that I found at least. Some paints. Some watercolor paints. So you'll see that I laid out a white piece of paper. It's like a big, just piece of junk kind of paper with some wax paper taped down. I use that little pad of wax paper to put my popsicle sticks to rest on when I'm mixing and stuff, because they're really sticky, and if you put them on paper they just tears paper, and kind of sometimes the little pieces of paper get in your resin, and that's a pain in the butt. So yeah, the wax paper works good for while you're working on the project. Here's some more little charms, just things to put in the resin if you want to. I kind of just grabbed a bunch of random stuff. That's kind of what I do with this. And these are the molds I'm going to be using today. So you want to just keep in mind that if you want a mirror or glass finish on your resin, the molds need to have a glossy finish on the inside, or else they come out foggy if they don't. So you'll see that one of my cups has a sticker, just like the resin bottle does. I have that so I can remember which one's the hardener and which one's not, and so that I don't have to keep getting new little cups because they're disposable, and I don't like to have to keep like replacing and throwing them away and stuff, because the resin will cure once you start mixing. Like as soon as you mix them, it starts to cure. Like you only have like, I think it's like a 45-minute window to work with it, but it does start to get sticky and stickier and stickier and harder and stuff. So it's just, I find if I keep the two cups separate, then I'm not using a whole bunch at once. So it's a 1-to-1 ratio of this particular resin, the kind that has to cure for 24 hours. I believe it's epoxy. But yeah, it's a 1-to-1 ratio, and you just want to mix it up really good. Make sure you scrape the sides. It will cause some air bubbles if you are kind of more gentle and more patient. You won't create as many air bubbles. Otherwise, if you're aggressive like me, just let the cup sit for a minute or two while the air bubbles come to the top, and then use your straw or a flame, like a barbecue lighter, to put the air bubbles out. I find that the barbecue lighter actually works the best, but I didn't have one on hand at the time, so I had to use a straw, which also works. Kind of depends. Whatever works for you. And so today's video, I'm basically just kind of winging it. I mix the resin and sort of just fly by the seat of my pants with the paint colors and the choices, and it's kind of just like random. I'm just showing you how to get started and like basically how easy it is to make something really fun and attractive. So here I'm just deciding what color. I'm putting a little bit of the resin I just mixed into a separate cup so that I can pour some paint. This is acrylic paint, and to be honest, I had no idea you could even mix the two. I never tried it out before, but it works. The resin cures just fine. Cures hard and glossy, just like you'd want it to. I didn't find that there was any like weird mixing or causing of issues with the two chemicals. Those other smaller paints are watercolor paints, which I find are really fun to work with too, because they create a different effect than acrylic paint. As they are watercolors, they create like more of a translucent appearance. So I'm just pouring, being careful not to get too much on the sides or on the rest of the mold. It's kind of messy, kind of sticky, and the less mess you make in your mold, the easier and nicer your projects will look and easier to clean up. I only filled these up just a little bit, about halfway, maybe a quarter of the way up the mold, maybe a third of the way up the mold. I guess it just depends on how thick you want your pieces, but you do want to, I wanted to let this first layer sit and then put another clear layer over top, so I didn't fill it up all the way. Sorry, I'm saying all the time. Basically, this whole video is me just pouring the resin, making little designs with the paint, just kind of winging it, having fun, and there's no rules here, really. I mean, the box of the instructions say like this and that and this and that, and I didn't find it was that crazy. You just mix it 1-to-1, let it cure for 24 hours. You can mix pretty much anything in it, paints, pigments, the makeup that I showed you earlier. It's just eyeshadow. That stuff is mineral makeup. I don't think it really makes a difference. Just mix it up really good, and it kind of alters the color of the resin. You kind of just experiment. I mean, really, all you do is experiment and figure it out, and it's super, super easy. And if you're even more creative than me, then you can do even better things. My best guess though with resin is just a little bit goes a long way when it comes to paint and whatnot, especially if you're trying to get more of like a translucent look, or you know, you don't want to maybe cause like a goopier consistency, because I only ever use a really tiny amount of paint in the resin, so I don't know if maybe if you used a lot it would alter the state of the resin, the chemical composition, and it wouldn't cure properly. I have never done that, so I wouldn't know. So my best advice is just a little bit goes a long way. And yeah, have fun. Here I'm just dragging little dots of the paint through the resin, the clear resin, in these little puzzle pieces. So yeah, and once I'm done pouring, basically I'm gonna wait for about 3 hours for the initial cure, so that anything, if I've suspended anything in it, or if I want to do another layer that doesn't mix with the current layer, and just kind of sits on top, I wait for it to cure. Anywhere from an hour to 3 hours, depending on like how deep or how shallow you've poured your resin in your molds. And I think I waited about 3 hours for this one. So this is just what the makeup pigments look like. It's kind of clear, kind of sparkly. It all depends on the amount you use and also the type of pigments you're using. So you kind of just feel it out. Resin is really all about kind of just feeling it out and experimenting and trial and error, and just pour a little bit of your clear resin into a new cup and then mix a little bit, see if you like it. And if you don't like it, then at least you haven't like mixed a whole bunch of resin with something that you didn't like and you have to throw it all away or something like that. But yeah, just a little goes away a long way, and a lot of like trial and error and experimenting, which is like the best part about this, because I'm not like an avid painter who can just like wing out some beautiful piece of work, but this is kind of fun for like the wannabe painter who wants to like make a big mess, and you know what I mean? So I'm just popping the air bubbles with my pseudo straw. It's actually an emptied out pen cartridge because I couldn't find my straw, and I had no lighters, which was a pain in the butt as well. I would highly recommend getting a barbecue lighter for this, because the straw thing is just kind of inconvenient and doesn't work as good. Pouring a few more colors. All right, we've set the resin now for 3 hours, and now I'm just pouring a clear layer over top of everything that I've poured previously, just for the effect. Like, you really could have stopped where I 3 hours ago, but I wanted to get that effect of like the clear top, because I think it looks really cool. And you can actually even let the resin cure and then put something in this second layer, and it sits right behind your first layer, which is a neat effect, I think. But this part's probably the easiest, because you just jump in there, pour over, and then let it sit for 24 hours. I think some resins are like a full cure after 72 hours. Like, I think it's like a soft cure at 24 and a full cure at 72. I find with the amount that I'm pouring in these, which is so small, and the type of resin I was using, that art resin, it cures completely pretty much in 24 hours. I mean, it gets harder, I'd say, after like another day, but definitely usable, and you can pull it out the mold after 24 hours. It's not sticky or anything. You'll be surprised actually how great some of these look, even though it's like such an easy and like simple kind of little project. It's super fun. I don't know why, it's just super fun and entertaining, and you kind of just get to experiment, which is, I don't know, I'm super entertained doing this stuff. I've sat in front of my TV for hours just pouring these stupid little things, and it's a lot of fun. Especially if you get some good molds, like good fun shapes. I got these ones at Michael's. Okay, full 24 hours have gone by. I am about to pull these out. You can tell it's a new day because my shirt is different and I haven't cleaned up the mess on the table yet. Oh, I don't have it in the film. There we go. There it is. Ooh. Oh, I love that. Even seeing it on camera, I mean, I've like stared at them a bunch of times, but I mean, they're so cute and they're so fun. And this was just like a super quick and dirty how to pour resin and show how easy it is. Like, you could get so much more creative and do such a better job if you spend more time and play around a little bit more. But I find these just so fun. Little heart. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed the video. It was kind of quick and dirty, but I mean, that's kind of what resin is. It's super fast and super fun, and like incredibly satisfying. The waiting process where you have to wait 24 hours is kind of like, you get a little bit impatient, but it's really fun the next morning when you wake up and you have like a little thing to go look at. So, yeah, hope you give it a try. Have fun doing it, and yeah, if you give it a try, let me know. Find me on social media, send me pictures. That'd be great. Okay.
You're beautiful.
Do I look disguised?
Stick 'em up, folks! Stick 'em up!